Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you all about the latest from Blues Pills' Holy Moly, out August 21st on Nuclear Blast. This album has 11 tracks, 42 minutes in length, and this is the Swedish rock band third full-length studio album. I really enjoyed this record, and the thing that captured me right off the bat was the overall structure and track listing on this album. Magnificent job, really understanding what songs they had created and then blending them in the best way possible in order to engage the listener, but most importantly, keeping the listener engaged across all 11 songs. This is an album that starts off very rock, very vibrant, but then it dips with songs, and it dips several times with songs that are a lot more blues driven, that really bring the mood down, that deflate the balloon, and you just feel a lot more introspective, that have more of a darker presence. But those songs are really well spaced out, and in between them you just have really driven, really bright rock and roll songs that are just vibrant. So I love the track listing on this record. I love the fluidity that it gives, because this is an album that has a roller coaster ride of a vibe. You go up and then you come crashing down, then you go up again and you come crashing down. So they did a wonderful job, because when you look at the overall body of work that this album has, there's a lot of similarities across all tracks, either be in the mood and the structure and the way the sound is put together and the way the solos are created. So there's a lot of similarities. So you have to be extremely careful with the track listing so that you don't put songs that sound or feel almost similar to each other back to back. It would make the album monotonous, it would make the album feel repetitive. So kudos to them for creating, in my opinion, considering the tracks available, the absolute perfect track listing and overall album structure in order to really engage the listener, and most importantly, keep that listener engaged across all 11 songs. As far as sound goes, they definitely have this 60s, 70s influence to the way they create music, but also a lot of blues. And the blues is really an important part of every single track. The question always becomes, does it have a lot of it or does it have very little? But it's there on every single song. Obviously, the songs that have a lot more of it, they become a little bit darker, and you need those to bring that mood down, to bring that roller coaster ride coming all the way down to a screeching halt, if you will. So you need that in order to create those waves, to create those perfect balances and dynamic mechanisms throughout the record. Deeper within the sound, you really have to address how good the guitars are on this album. Absolutely phenomenal, from the riffs to the melodies, how groovy they are. The solos are outstanding. I felt that the guitars were almost like a chameleon on this album. Understanding the mood of the song, understanding the vibe that the track had, the lyrics that were created for the song, all of these condiments came into play. And then the guitar sound morphs into whatever the song dictates and becomes part of it. And it just blends in with all the other elements, be the drums, the bass. The bass is also killer on this record, or the vocals. But overall, the guitar work is just really out of this world, really outstanding, really capturing the essence of the band, of the sound that they've created, and the music that they represent. The last beacon, if you will, on this album is the vocals. You cannot listen to this record and not talk about the vocals, because they are the brightest spot on this whole album. I love the structure, I love the guitar sound, I love the mixing, I love how the whole album comes together, the fluidity that it has. All of these elements are just great, I love it. But the vocals, without a vocalist like this album falls flat. You have to have the right person with the right voice, with the right tone, with the right range. And Ellen is definitely that. She delivers a perfect delivery on every single song. She just has incredible voice, incredible tone, incredible range, bringing a lot of emotion to the way she sings, specifically on those blues-driven tracks. Is just dripping with emotion, and you don't know what's driving who. Is she driving the track, or is the emotion of the track driving her? It's just absolutely phenomenal. Her voice is just definitely, it just tears everything up within this album. I was floored with how good her voice is. And on the songs that are more rock driven, or that the guitars are a lot more penetrating with a more driven sound, more raw feel to it, her voice kind of gets hidden within it and becomes just a rock song with a great vocalist. But on the blues driven tracks, specifically the songs that bring the mood down, that have a little bit of a darker undertone, my goodness, it really depends on her. Like, everything is writing on how good her voice is, and she delivers on every single song, specifically on those outstanding. There's not much for her to hide herself behind. She's really in the forefront and really dictating the pace of where the song is going to go, not just from a vocal perspective, but even from a musical perspective. She's really the conductor on some of these tracks. Outstanding work from her. Her voice is just phenomenal. Overall, this is a great record. I really enjoy this album. I really like the atmosphere that it has. It takes me back. It's definitely a throwback sounding record, but it's created in a way that has songs that still feel modern and up to date, but there's some songs that the way they were recorded, it almost feels like they were recorded back in the 60s or 70s. It has a throwback feel, not just to the sound, but to the recording process and how her vocals interact with all the other elements around it. So I really like this album. I really like what it has to offer, and I really like the way it was constructed. Now, as far as songs are concerned, Dreaming My Life Away is the one that I want to start with. Great rock track, amazing guitar sound, really balanced out by how good the drums and bass are. This is a song where those three elements, guitar, bass, and drums, really come together as one to create this perfect foundation musically, and allowing the track to be very well balanced all around. It has this rock, raw, driven sound to it, but very cohesive in nature, making for a very fun and overall groovy song. I just like the way it feels. I like the way it comes across. Awesome guitar solo on this track, and that's something that's pretty much a pattern across this record. Bringing in the vocals over the guitar solo was a great idea. I really like how that worked for the track, because you can still hear the solo, but now the vocals are coming over the top, and the solo kind of hides itself in the layer underneath it. So it gives the song a different vibe, a different feeling of energy, and it just moves the track forward. Adding some backing vocals to this song was a good idea as well. I felt that it added more presence and added more volume. So you have a song that musically has a lot of volume because drums, bass, and guitar are really working as a unit. And when you're adding backing vocals to the main vocal line, then you're also adding volume to that. So you have two elements of volume, making the song a lot bigger, a lot stronger, not necessarily heavier, but giving it a lot of a bigger presence. Let's go with that. Next, Rhythm in the Blood. I really dig this song, one of my favorites of the album, if not my favorite. Great mixture of blues and rock. This is a song that moves a little bit more towards that blues side, but still keeps a lot of that rock and roll spinal cord to it. The structure, the sound, the vocals, the way everything comes together is really a mixture of those two worlds combining forces in order to creating a very dynamic, a very fluid song. The sound has some groovy elements to it. The guitars have a great penetrating sound that is raw, but at the same time it just fills in all the little gaps left by all the other instruments, and then the vocals match that same intensity across the track, giving the song almost a live feel. You really get that sense that you're listening to a live track, both musically and vocally. The way the two elements come together really give you this live essence, even though this is a studio track. And that's one of the things that I really like about this song, is that live feel to it. It feels very organic, it feels very natural. Last but not least, Bye Birdie. The vocals are haunting. This is definitely one of the more blues-driven songs. So I've given you three different tracks. One that's more rock and roll, one that merges the two very well, almost half and half if you will, and now one that's a lot more blues in terms of the atmosphere that it has. And the vocals, like I said, haunting across this track. Actually, the vocals are the track. When you listen to this song, even though the music plays obviously an important role, and when the sound gets intense, when the sound starts to pick up in volume and in presence, the vocals match it. But overall, this is a song that's dictated by how good the vocals are. It really guides the track. It guides it emotionally, and it guides the song musically. Just powerful, powerful. This track will give you goosebumps from the way it's created to the way that it's structured, and then obviously how it gets delivered to you. Outstanding. This is it. This is Blues Pills, Holy Moly, out August 21st on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.